Everybody thought I was crazy. I was given 1 day off, 1 full day off, and it was the first one I'd had in months. And I decided that what I was going to do with that day was have an adventure. Everybody else would have just stayed in their rooms, relaxed, but I decided it doesn't matter that I'm in the middle of a war zone. I'm still going to have this great adventure because at the end of this adventure, there is the most awesome t-shirt waiting for me. No, there were t-shirts, and this one was the best ever. That was my plan. Unfortunately, my plan wasn't going quite as I had expected as I approached the line, the starting line of the 5-kilometer race. And it was dark, it was cold, I was bouncing, I remember. There was a mist coming off the fake lake just off to the side there, the man-made lake, and it was chilly. I was bouncing also because I was nervous, and I really, really wanted to do well in this race. Runners, take your mark, I heard. A sea of soldiers joins me at the starting line. They're all wearing their gray PT physical training shirts, their t-shirts. They say Army across the front in bold, strong letters, and Army in white letters on black shorts. I'm wearing this gray shirt and these blue shorts that have this reflective tape on them with the Air Force, so when you shine a light on me, I'm sort of bajingle, you know, I sparkle. So I stand out a little bit here. And I also noticed that everybody else is about 10 to 20 years younger than I am, at least the ones I can see of the 300 other runners or so. Take your mark. I get that surge of adrenaline, and I need it. Bang! I start running. I'm going. My strategy, get out in front of that pack. Oh, I'm going fast because I've got a chance to do well in this race, and I do not want to get overwhelmed by that big mob of people, because if you get behind, you've got to fight your way just to get back to where you really want to be, where you ought to be. That was my strategy for the deployment as well. My first and last deployment, I show up in Baghdad, October of 2010. I'm an Air Force space guy, okay? I deal with satellites and rockets and missiles and radars and telescopes that are looking up. We look up in my job. This is the ground war. This is different. And I knew it was going to be different, but I didn't realize just how different and how stressful the entire environment was going to be. At the beginning of my deployment, I felt like I was being overwhelmed by that crowd. I was starting to emotionally be overwhelmed. So, I mean, everything was so strange and threatening and different. Everything seemed brown and dusty and broken over there. It was difficult. You know, even the ground, the sidewalks were all crumbly and dirty, and it smelled and it was dusty. And even in January, it was warm during the day. The buildings were all tan, and they had the domes on them, and they had the archways that made you know that you weren't in Kansas anymore. The bullet holes reminded you of that too. It was a frightening place. Even the air itself was often brown and polluted and dusty and uninviting. It felt threatening. Everybody spoke a different language around me. They spoke Army. It was all acronyms and F-bombs, and I didn't speak that. You quickly learn. So I gravitated towards something that I knew, something familiar. And for me, that was running. I was running long distance in races. My dad dragged me to my first 5-mile race when I was only 8 years old, and I'd been running on and off ever since, and I was 42 at the time. It was great running those races, and 5 days after I arrived, after just arriving from the Colorado Springs training grounds here, I ran in my first 5-mile race on base. It was a tiny little 1-mile loop around, it was around the whole base, which was like a little fortress, a tiny little base. And I finished first, much to my surprise. I knew I was in good shape, but geez. Which was really good because, A, it gave me some notoriety around there. People suddenly knew, who's this blonde guy who's pretty quick? And the other thing it did was it gave me a nice little memento to bring home. Hey, check it out. I've been here 5 days. I got hardware, which is really nice. So I started looking forward to the next race and the next race. And it wasn't just the racing, it was also the training, you know, the running. Anybody who's a real runner and gets that sort of focus, you can just zone out, everything else goes away. And in a place like a war zone, that's kind of important. you forget that how dangerous where you are is and how stressful it is and how much you miss your family and all of that. We're just focusing on the rhythm of your breathing and the rhythm of your steps. So it was a great way for me to relax. And then I saw a race coming up. Oh, this was the race I had to run. It was called the Soldiers for Superman 5K. It was to benefit Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation. Christopher Reeves, who was Superman in the 80s, and then he fell off the horse and had the injury and was paralyzed. So this was the foundation that raised money and awareness for paralysis, for people who were paralyzed from spinal injuries, accidents, or illnesses, and a great cause, especially for the military to be involved in. But that, honestly, if I'm honest, was not what I was doing this for. I was really excited, not because they had medals for first, second, and third place, not even the 40 to 49-year-old age category, 42. They had a nice trophy, they said, but it was the T-shirt. It was just a white T-shirt with black printing on it, but the front was a Superman logo. Best running shirt ever. On the back, it said, Soldiers for Superman, 5K. Had all the details, Baghdad, Iraq, and all that. I can imagine myself at the gym. Dude, cool shirt. Thanks, right? Dude, were you like there? There I was, Baghdad, Iraq. Oh, yeah. I could imagine this, right? Then I'm looking down the list of, oh, no. It says they're going to give T-shirts to the first 200 entrants, which is cool, but the race is going to be on the other side of Baghdad. Now, I'd only been there a few months, and I had not traveled around, and everything over there was difficult, especially near the end. You couldn't just leave the base and go run a race or something. So I sort of put it aside and gave it up. Well, a funny thing happened a few days later. My boss came and said, we're going to give everybody a full day off in January. You just pick the weekend day that you want, and normally we only got a half day off. So we were going to get this big one day off, and I instantly go, huh. So I went to him and I said, could I take this day off to go run this race over on the other side of town? He goes, why the hell would you want to do that? I said, because I'm a runner. He wasn't a runner. All right, as long as you're back by Sunday morning, Sunday morning, you'll be all right. So I'm thinking, this is a possibility now, but there's a lot of obstacles between me and getting this done, getting that shirt. So I'm back in the race now, okay? I'm about a mile into the run. Oh, I'm feeling good, and there's only about 5 or 6 people in front of me now. Oh, I'm feeling good now. And a couple of those guys are fading fast. The front guy, he's looking good. He's strong, he's young. I'm not catching him, no way. But the others, I think I got a shot. Oh yeah, now I'm in 5th place. Now I'm in 4th place, this is good. Suddenly this young Ethiopian or Kenyan guy, you know those guys that win the New York Marathon every year, comes flying by me in a gear I used to have. That's okay. Just pick off the ones you can, keep focused on the prize, do what you can. And that was my strategy for getting to that race too. Just one obstacle at a time, one challenge at a time. First one, how am I going to get over there? Well, I found out there's this shuttle bus. It's called a Rhino that would take me from one base to the other. This was a big, ugly bus. Think of like a school bus that's painted black on steroids with armor on it. And they call it a Rhino, I think, because of the smell. Inside, it's like diesel fumes, body odor, and dust. It's just nasty, okay? And we're sitting there with all of our armor on, all of us going across town, hoping that nobody's going to shoot at us. It's about a 15-minute drive if you go straight, but we took about an hour and a half because we want to be unpredictable. We got there, and I didn't care. I was like, I'm going there. I've got my gun jabbing me in the ribs, and I don't care. I'm sweaty. But we got there, and I'm thinking, step 1 is done. Now all I have to do is find a place to stay, and it dropped us off at this tent city. And they had huge tents with all these cots in them for when they're doing big movements of troops. Well, nobody was moving, so there were like 5 people in this 50-person tent, which was fine. So I had a place to stay. Everything's fallen into place. This is awesome. I'm getting to that shirt. The next thing was, I hadn't really realized I didn't know where the race start was at that point. I spent about 2 hours running around the base asking people. And I had called ahead, and the race director said it was there was a tent city really close to where the race started. I'd found the tent city, but nobody at the tent city knew where this race started. They didn't know where this place, this lake that it was supposed to be at, it was called Z Lake. Nobody knew where that was. And I'm thinking, if it's that close, how come nobody knows where this is? So after 2 hours, I'm about to give up. I'm thinking, I can't find where this race starts. A guy says, I'd gone about 2 miles, just running around the night before our race. And a guy says, there's a bus stop over there. That'll take you back to the tent city. So I go to the bus stop. And the bus stop has a nice map of where the bus goes. It goes to the tent city. Oh, by the way, there's Z Lake, and there are the roads that go between. How hard was that? Come on now. So it takes me back to my cot. The tent had little cots, and I got the worst night's sleep of my life, I swear. You know those nights where you wake up at 2, and then 2:30, and then 3, and then 3:05, and 3:08? Yeah, it was one of those nights because I had my earplugs in because there are fans on both ends of this tent, people playing video games when I'm trying to fall asleep, and I had my watch to wake me up, and that's all I had. So my watch, beep, 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 5 in the morning, I got to get up. So when it went off finally, I was like, thank you. I rolled out of bed. I wasn't really asleep anyway, stowed all my gear, my weapon, and I'm just on my way. In the dark, going on these roads towards what I'm pretty sure this is what the map said. I'm literally, imagine this now. I'm in the middle of a war zone, walking by myself in my physical fitness gear, no weapon. It's dark, and I'm going down this road, and then I remembered a week earlier, they put us on high alert for abductions. Somebody in town had just narrowly avoided being kidnapped. So they said, be vigilant. Vigilant turned to paranoia about that point. I ran to that race. I was tired when I got there. It was about a 1.5 mile run. And I got there, I thought, oh, God, I'm here. I've made it. And I'd registered, as they said, the first 200 registrants get a shirt. I was number 127. I went to the desk, and I said, I'm Chris Mortenson. I'm number 127. And he said, okay, well, here's your number. We're out of T-shirts. We ran out just a few minutes ago. No. I wanted to explain everything. I wanted to explain the rhino, the abductions going on in my head, the cot. You don't know what I went through to get this. Didn't matter. They were all gone. So when I went to that race, I was going to have to earn something to bring home. There's a 1/4 mile left in the race. I'm running. I'm in 3rd place at this point, and I am not going to let it go. I hear footsteps behind me. Not today, Buster. Not today. I don't care what it takes. I am not finishing less than 3rd. I'm getting 3rd place. I'm probably getting that 40 to 42-year-old trophy, too, because those are young guys in front of me. Yeah. Finished. 18:03. Feels so good. I'm like, yes! Pull off my number, and I hand it to the girl, and I say, I'm 42. She knew what that meant. You're going to get 1 prize. You're going to get the 3rd place prize. We're not going to give you 2 prizes. We're going to spread them out. Okay, fine. I'm not going to tell her the story. It's fine. About 45 minutes later, I watch another 40 to 49-year-old get a lovely trophy that said, Soldiers for Superman, 5K, Baghdad, Iraq. First place, 40 to 49. I go up to receive my 3rd place medal. It's brown. It says 3rd. It just says 3rd. It's got ribbon on it. There's nothing on the back. Nothing. The next day, I called the race director. She said, I'm really, really sorry about that. Somebody didn't do what we said. But I'll give you the email, the website of the company we ordered the shirts from. You can contact them. It was $28 for a shirt. It suddenly looked like just a white shirt with some black printing on it to me. And that didn't count the shipping and handling to Iraq. She said, we did order a whole bunch of dog tags that didn't come in on time. Would you like me to send you some? And I said, yeah, absolutely. 3 weeks later, I received about 15 of these things. I took one, and I super glued that sucker on the back of my medal, and it says, Soldiers for Superman, 5K, Baghdad, Iraq, 2011. Been there, done that, got the medal.